This story was written by Skyrights, so if you like this video, consider supporting them as well. They have an AO3 account, a Ko-fi, and a Twitter. So, leave a kudos on their story, maybe donate, give them some love. And don't forget the artist who made the cover. They are Afraid Symphony on DeviantArt and Tumblr. Links are in the description. So, up until a few days ago, I've been pretty much editing all of my videos in a specific version of OpenShot, namely version 2.4.4. And, yeah, I don't know if you know this, you probably don't, but that is a very outdated version of OpenShot, even more so whenever you're listening to this. And definitely still when I'm recording this. Because here's the thing. I tried to update OpenShot like once before, okay? And when I did the video files I edited on the previous version, just would not work on the new version. So I just said, screw it, went back to my old version, and just didn't bother updating it for another while. And now I suddenly had the idea of trying to update my video editing software again. I did that a few days ago. And, oh my god, it's really great, actually. Because I tried to, I don't know all the intricacies. I'm not a fan of, like, the bigger buttons on the user interface. Not really my thing personally, but the exporting process, like actually getting the videos into their final MP4 format. It works like a dream. Like, seriously. Well, at least a lot better. Like first off, it happens a lot faster. Secondly, there's less, if maybe no, audio bugs that happen on the way to transferring the file into an MP4 file. It's wonderful. Like the version of chapter 5 and 6 that you're listening to are just they're the versions that are exported with this new version of OpenShot. But before that, I mean, oh man. You would have, you'd get this jumbled audio, or this just very crackly audio, painful to listen to. And it really sucked because I had to change a few things to make it even presentable. Like in chapter 5, that moment where Kekleta, she yells at Booster, and then there's that thunder effect in the background, right? Yeah, that was painful to listen to in the original version that I exported. And so I had to lower the volume of the thunder in the background just to make it a little less painful to listen to, but it was still plainly broken. But now it's all clear. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and I'm really glad I was able to sort that out. And yeah, overall, I'm just glad I can produce something with better quality that more reflects what I'm actually making. But anyway, enough about that. I think I've padded this out long enough. Welcome back to Mario is Missing. Chapter 7 is what we're doing today, and this one is called Until You Can't Go Anymore. We had a bit of a cliffhanger on the last one, so I guess we'll see what happens now, shall we? Grief and fear are horrible emotions. They cause harm to everyone around that person, and they hurt that person a lot. I consider myself to be a master coward, a fearful little man with zero redeeming qualities and a spine about as strong as a Cheep Cheep's ability to get up on land and walk on 2 legs. But when someone else feels all that grief, all that fear, it's strange. I guess something takes over a person. Even a person as weak and pathetic as me can learn to suck it up and maybe show some compassion. Maybe even do something that could be considered bravery? If you looked for the definition of bravery at the bottom of a musty old gorilla barrel, maybe I could have been considered brave for just a moment. But is it really so brave to try and comfort a crying girl during the worst time in her life? Really, I was just doing what anyone would do, what anyone should have done. I wasn't brave. I was just doing the bare minimum, as usual. That's why when I saw the Starbeans Cafe, even in the middle of this awful metal city, I knew we needed to rest. I needed to listen to Toadette, allow her to sort out her thoughts, maybe even get a drink, although that didn't seem likely. The cafe was covered in sheets of shiny metal, and the letters were rusting off and slowly being replaced with Smith instead of Star, but it seemed the constructors couldn't agree on a proper way to do it. It instead read Starmsthian Cafe over the shop. The usual smiling face of Professor Egad was replaced by a scowling, bearded thing. Man? God? I wasn't sure. I pulled her in gently through the double doors, past a few hammers with legs. Out there, it wasn't lifeless anymore. Well, it was still lifeless, but this place absolutely teemed with life, if you know what I mean. People and creatures waltzed around the cafe, sipping at the dark, oily beverages. They stared at us, just like Exor, just like those toads. I tried my best to ignore them. Toadette needed me for once, so I'd have to at least pretend I'm brave for her. I scooched myself between a group of colorful characters, gossiping about something or other. They all had their drinks, except for a yellow one who had two, and a big shiny sandwich on his plate. Did you all perchance perceive the spectacular failure on the Koopa King station this evening? A thin green man said. Sounded like he just used a thesaurus for every word to seem smarter. Huh? You mean Bowser's channel? A cool metal guy painted in black said, his shades gleaming somehow in the dim light. Man, that channel's for nerds. Oh, shut up, Black. You are so lame. A girly voice replied. She was the pink one, if that wasn't obvious. I was starting to notice a rather cliché trend. Red, I bet you saw it. That copycat Koopa was totally humiliated on live TV. Ha! Shut up, all of you! The angry red man shouted, waving his axe around. Yeah, I saw it. Serves the idiot right. I'm the original Red, after all. Well, actually, Green replied smugly, you are an updated version of a previous model that was discarded. Red Mark III would be a more technically accurate name for your person. Shut up, will ya? As I scooched through with a distraught Toadette in my hand, I noticed each and every one of these fellows' heads turned to follow us as we moved. Even as they continued to talk to each other, they watched us, their axes close at their side. I didn't know what else to do. Instead of taking Toadette to a safer place, I took her to a lion's den. At least here it was dry. At least here we could sit. It wasn't all that bad. The patrons in the cafe continued to talk, continued to sip their pungent oils. It was just, they all stared at us while they did it. It was like half and half, really creepy and invasive. Probably about as good as it was going to get here. Yo, Red, isn't that... Thought you said you didn't watch that channel.
Smithy's hammer, will you all clamp up? I can see who it is.
Should we communicate our status to him? It's my day off and he already knows. He'll deal with it. Guy's a huge suck-up anyway. Food's good. Red sighed. Yes, Yellow. I tried to shake off the 10 tons of dread at my shoulders, helping Toadette into what I could only imagine used to be a comfy stool. If there was a cushion, it was replaced by a metallic look-alike. Didn't seem to matter to her, at least. She put her head down on the cold counter in her arms, pigtails hanging limply down at her sides. A shy guy hopped over to us from the other side of the counter, his pogo stick looking sharp. Like I've always said, shy guys are great and trustworthy friends. They're close cousins to Sniffets.
Hey there, meatbag.
Oh, God. Oh, wait, no, frick. I have to...
Hey there, meatbag. Boing.
The shy guy said happily, bouncing in my place.
What can I get you to?
Toadette didn't even look up. I guess it was up to me to do the talking. Not really my strength, but at least it was a shy guy, so it wasn't that bad. Even if he was probably a robot or something. I ordered 2 regular whatever that was. I figured it was the best we get something, and hopefully not anger the locals any more than we already have.
You want any coolant or cleaning fluid in that? Boing.
He asked. I shrugged and nodded at the same time.
Sure thing, boing, D.
He hopped up to a noisy machine with gears, nuts, and bolts in a canister. Steam hissed out of its pipes, and while he worked, his mask stared at us. It was almost relaxing here, once you got used to the staring and the exhaust fumes and the sharp weapons stuffed into every crevice. It wasn't that bad. It was just a different culture, that's all. Okay, it was actually horrible and I hated it, but Toadette needed me. She looked like she was getting ready to talk. I had to be here to listen.
And, well, I guess everyone else was here to listen too.
I wasn't ready to see him again, she mumbled, letting out a deep, shuddering sigh. Those toads. How could they have been her brother? Did they recover his body? I didn't like asking these questions. It felt like someone was cutting into my stomach. It also felt familiar, but that wasn't right. It wasn't right. We... She sighed, her voice devoid of emotion anymore. She kept her head down. I identified the body. Those things back there, they had the same mark from when he... She didn't need to say any more. The same mark from the attack that killed him. A black scorch. But why would they copy that? They're just machines, Toadette said. They probably didn't know any better. They just saw some toad and must have said, "Oh, this'll be a good toad model." Stupid things! The voices hushed at her outburst. Maybe she shouldn't have said that right here? Although, I mean, who am I to tell a crying girl to shush? That'd be really rude, wouldn't it? I couldn't do that. I don't know if Smithy is responsible, Toadette continued, her little hands curled into fists. But it's not right. It's not right. I don't care who I have to take in, robot or not. The moment she said, "take," every single voice went quiet again, and they stayed quiet. Maybe we should, leave? Toadette said, head still down. I thought I could face anything. I didn't care, you know? I was ready, I thought. I didn't think there was anything that could really hurt me anymore. But that was the one thing. The one thing I wanted to see again, but also never wanted to see again. She wasn't paying attention. The cafe stayed deathly silent. I delicately pressed my hand against her shoulder, trying to alert her, quietly tell her to look up and leave. Thanks, Luigi, she said with a sniffle, taking my hand in hers and squeezing it tight. That wasn't what I meant. I did want to comfort her, but maybe somewhere else? Bounce, bounce. The shy guy, Shyster, was back. Steaming cups of bubbling tar oozed in his little hands. He placed them down before us.
Here you go, guys. Boing.
I felt my heart pounding like a jackhammer inside my ribs. Toadette finally looked up, realizing where she was. Oh, she sniffled, wiping her tears away. At least she looked like she was feeling better. How much do we owe you? Luigi, I gave the rest of my coins to Gold Bob. Do you think you could cover this for me?
Oh, don't worry. Boing.
Shyster said cheerily.
We'll get what we're owed. Boing. This is on the house.
Huh? Toadette tilted her head. There was a flash of pink beside her. What do you... Then, spritzing around like a perfume bottle, Toadette's head immediately fell back against the counter with a thud. This wasn't just a sad or depressing thing anymore, was it? She was looking really limp now. Ugh, Yellow, you gonna, like, get him or what? Yeah, sorry, just finishing up my sandwich. It's our day off, give me a break. I probably should have used this opportunity to maybe leave or fight back or do something, but me being me, I just sort of sat there and... Our disguise was perfect! Brilliant! Oh yes, so perfect. You guys are the best at disguises. No one is better than you. Weird way to say it, all things considered, but that's fine. The group returned to their all-important laughing. Oh, look, the girl one, she's waking up. Ugh, what, Cap? Toadette stopped herself. From the way she spoke, I could tell she became fully conscious in just a moment. You guys, she growled. I should just continue to pretend being unconscious, but that wouldn't be very fair to Toadette, would it? Also, can I just say it's probably really unhealthy to get knocked out like this, especially twice in one night. If I survive this, I'd need to go get my head checked out by a doctor. This must have been how Whackers felt. I opened my eyes reluctantly. 5 toads stood before us in a dank and dirty room, but only 2 of them smiled. They were the same gray toads as before, the ones with the lights and backpacks, the ones that were apparently Toadette's brother. The one in the middle stood forward, a smug smile on his face, clearly the leader of the bunch, although for some reason a toad on the far right was smiling as well. The toad laughed. We weren't toads at all. I'm sure you were very fooled. We are Smithy's top lieutenant. What the hell is this name? We are Smithy's top lieutenant, Yaridovik. Yaridovik? What kind of name was that? The middle toad frowned, but the one on the far right kept a kind of permanent grin. It was creepy. It's a good Japanese name, okay? It means spear. Smithy, our boss by the way, is a great creator and a great namer. Bah! He waved a hand at me, turning back to the dank cellar, his feet stepping on broken computer glass without a care. His and our genius is wasted on simpletons like you. Get to the point! Toadette shouted, rocking her chair angrily, arms struggling against the rope. Oh, we were tied up. I just noticed. What do you want with us? The toad, known as Yaridovik, scowled, rushing up to Toadette's face, his gray imitation glitching.
You know what we want. You know exactly what we want. So why don't you just make this quick and tell us who sent you?
Toadette flinched as her dead brother screamed. She closed her eyes tight and kept them closed. I could understand that all too well, wanted to hide, but it wasn't long before she opened her eyes again, returning their spear-tipped glare with her own. I don't know what you're talking about. No one sent us. Yaridovik giggled again, the toad copy on the right laughing with glee. Oh, I figured this wouldn't be easy, but we have ways of making you talk. Brutal, terrible ways. You had best tell us, or we'll do something horrible to the ugly green man. Hey, ow. That insult was already bad enough. I'm very sensitive. I'm telling you, I don't know what you're talking about! Toadette screeched, sweat forming on her brow. Don't hurt Luigi! Yaridovik's minor light shone in her eyes. Oh, this'll be much worse than hurting. Since you're still playing dumb, I guess I have no choice. Boys, show 'em how we make people talk around here. The grinning toad from before stepped forward, cracking his fingers. I got this, boss. He stepped forward, slowly, grin growing wider. Stop. What was he doing? What was he going to do? I'd tell them anything. I don't know anything. I never knew anything. He placed his hands delicately at my side, extremely delicately, like too softly. Next he whispered in my ear, Coochie coochie coo, and began, No, not that. No, please. He was tickling me. It felt like a million laughing feathers were pressing into my ribs. I hate laughing. At least right now. Oh, I'm in hell. I'm empty. A sedentary and selfish life. And this is my punishment. Maybe a little much. Hey! Toadette growled in a horrified look in her eye. Stop it! Leave him alone! This is really weird! I don't like it! You know how to make this stop. Yeradovic shouted over my shrieks of laughter. Okay, I'll talk! Toadette cried. Just stop tickling him! This is so weird! The grinning toad's fingers finally stopped roaming over my sides, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I had not gone to the bathroom in a while, so, if there truly was a god, he or she must have had mercy on me in this moment. Yeradovic grinned, but not as wide as the tickled toad did. That's what I thought, he scowled. Now then, tell me why you're here, and who sent you? We've gotten reports of little green men coming into our territory and stealing our troops. That was you two, wasn't it? Actually, pretty sure that was Fawful. Toadette tilted her head. Huh? Well, I guess I'm little, and he is green, but is Smithy that worried? Yeradovic threw his hand into the air. Of course not! Our boss doesn't even know. Well, it's my job to protect his troops, and when I tell him there was a problem and that I already fixed it, imagine the brownie points. I'll get a promotion right on the spot. Well, I'm not sorry to say this, but it's not us who've been taking your troops. He gritted his teeth and stamped his foot, cracks spiderwebbing out of the rusty old metal from the sheer force of it. Don't you lie to me, girl. We all heard you talking. You said, and I quote... He cleared his voice box, and suddenly an exact replica of Toadette's voice came out of his mouth. I don't care who I have to take in, robot or not. She frowned. Do I really sound like that? Toadette shook her head. Well, that was just a poor choice of words. We're not the ones who have been kidnapping anyone. Yeradovic spit oil. Convenient. Honest, Toadette pleaded. It wasn't us. It was Cacletta and Fawful. They've been causing trouble. They want to take Smithy's troops for their own. The toad's arms twitched wildly, his legs moving back and forth in thought. Cacletta? Fawful? I've never heard of him. You're joking, Toadette sighed. Are you Smithy guys that sheltered? One of them's a little green man with a big smile. Fits your exact description. Huh. Yeradovic placed a hand on his chin, stroking it so hard the gray paint started coming off. A little green man did show up, but he was only a little smiley, and he had a tall friend. He gave our boss a rare metal, apparently. Wanted to make a deal for it. Thinking on it, I probably should have been a little more guarded, huh? But, it was metal and deals. Smithy loves both those things. Not to mention, that guy didn't kidnap anyone. Yeradovic narrowed his eyes at Toadette. You're just a filthy little liar, aren't you? It was you two who've been causing trouble. No! Toadette countered desperately. It's not us! It's Cacletta and Fawful! I'm telling you guys! I've had enough of this, the toad shouted. I went through the trouble of capturing you two, so it must be you. Smithy won't care anyway. He'll just be glad I solved the problem. And, he smirked, you won't be able to say otherwise if I bring your heads on a pike. Aw, no, come on. The way she said it, it was more like a slight inconvenience to her. I personally didn't really want my head on a pike if it could be helped. I liked my head on my body, but as much as we both struggled, we couldn't break free from their machine-tied ropes. The toad giggled, stepping back with the other three. They began to circle him slowly. Yes, this disguise was brilliant, but if I want to make a better impression for Smithy, I had better enter in the form he created me in. Come on, everyone, group formation! The three clones began moving faster and faster until they were all nothing but a blur of gray and red. Something seemed wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The toads spun around like a tornado, forming into something horrible and sharp. Yeradovic's true body almost towered over us. His spear-tipped face greeted us with a pointy smile. The spear in his hands gleamed with a dangerous edge.
The guy was definitely spear-themed, if you couldn't tell by now. His actual body was so thin, like a wireframe for an animatronic. Honestly, it was quite terrifying, except, again, something didn't seem right.
Get ready to be skewered!
Yeradovic screeched, attempting to take a step forward. Instead, he simply fell flat on his spear face.
Huh? What? What's gone wrong? What?
His legs were missing. The poor robot was just a torso and arms. He seemed to be as confused as we were. But then we noticed one of the cloned toads standing by its lonesome to the side, still grinning.
Hey, you!
Steam hissed out of his metallic body as he tried to crawl forward to us.
What are you doing? Get into group formation already, will you?
Nah, the gray toad casually said, eyes glowing a ghostly red. Yeradovic abandoned us as his killing targets, his anger pointed at that red-eyed toad who was just laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen.
How? You're my legs! How am I not obeying myself? Oh, man!
The toad wiped tears from his eyes. You still don't get it, do you?
Oh, this is so good. This is why I can hang out around here. This right here.
He dashed over to the struggling Yeradovic, putting his arms around its shoulder.
Buddy, take a guess at who I am. You're some kind of high-tech robot, ain't ya? You guys should have figured that out by now, right?
Yeradovic swiped his spear pathetically at the toad. In a flash, he was on the opposite side, literally rolling on his back with laughter.
You're the kidnapper, aren't you?
Yeradovic cried, life in shambles.
This is so rich,
the toad said, gasping between laughs.
Now he thinks I'm the kidnapper.
He turned to us, those red eyes, reading much too deeply into our souls.
Don't you guys think this is hilarious?
Toadette stayed silent, completely dumbfounded. I couldn't say I was in any better shape to speak.
Nah.
Oh well, thought you two would get me. He shrugged, walking up to me casually. Considering I'm technically saving your lives? Anyways, y'all mind if I... In an instant, his body melted away. A pale white form shrieked into my face, of course, causing me to shriek in return.
Spooked ya!
The thing said. It wasn't a toad, and it wasn't a robot, that's for sure. He looked like a cheap Halloween costume, like it was just a guy with a sheet over his body, except there was no body, just darkness. Darkness and red glowing orbs for eyes. Oh, and a cheap potty hat. This guy was weird.
A spirit! I should have known!
Yeradovic cried, still scraping his clunky body forward.
Wait till Smithy finds out I killed a spirit! Wait till he finds out! 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 Wait till he finds out!
The ghost frowned.
It went on his usual loop. Let me take care of this for you. Got all the comedy I could out of him, looks like.
With a cheery whistle and a skip in his step, he lifted up the spearbot over his head with ease. Yeradovic stabbed the ghost with all his might. It didn't do anything. Neither parties seemed to mind. With a spare ghostly hand, he opened up what appeared to be a very hot furnace. Flames leaped out, licking into the air, hungry for anything at this point. He didn't even think twice about it. The ghost tossed Yeradovic into the furnace like a bag of laundry.
Wait till he finds out!
Wait till he finds out! Wait till he finds out!
Yeradovic kept repeating, on and on, as his chassis melted into the flame's teeth, as it ripped his limbs into puddles of silver. And just like that, he was disposed of. The ghost turned to us, the mouth hole in his sheet opened wide in what could only be read as a wild grin.
Convenient, huh? Good thing everything happened exactly like this, or else you two would be in big trouble, huh?
Who or what are you? Toadette asked, taken aback by the sheer whiplash of events that we've gone through.
Trade secret, baby!
The ghost guffawed, grabbing Yeradovic's spear with a flourish.
If I told ya, I'd have to kill ya.
He giggled, stabbing downward and slicing Toadette's ropes in one swift movement. Thanks, I guess. Toadette hopped out of her chair, stretching her arms. She was handling all of this pretty well, or she was doing a good job at shutting everything out.
Oh, don't thank me,
the ghost said happily, slicing off my ropes as well, the blade cutting awfully close to my wrists.
If I thought you two were going to bore me in the slightest, I'd toss you in the furnace with that guy.
Why'd it have to be ghosts? Why couldn't Prince Peasley come in and save me one of these days?
Don't look so disappointed, guy, the spirit said with glee. I have so much more fun with the bots around here, disguising as a robot who disguises as other people. It's like irony or something.
So you are also a kidnapper of some sorts too? Toadette asked. He waved his sheet at her.
Jeez, lady, didn't you hear what I said? I don't take anyone away like that Fawful does. If I kill him, I kill him right at their home turf.
He smiled.
That's the funniest way. No one notices when I do it.
Technicality. Fine, Toadette sighed. Wasn't worth arguing with a trickster ghost who just saved our lives.
Also, you mentioned Fawful. Does that mean you know what's been going on? Do you have any information? Let me stop you right there, lady,
the ghost said with a playful grin. In a puff of dark smoke, his form was replaced with the same Captain Toad again, only this time it was in full color, and the mock on his head was gone.
You're looking for what happened to this guy, I know.
Toadette was shocked into silence, and then he moved his red gaze onto me.
And you?
In the blink of an eye, my brother stood before me.
"Yah, wah, yahoo! You looking for me?"
Mario said, grinning from ear to ear. Mario? Was that? Mario laughed, pointing at me like it was the second funniest thing he had seen all day.
Oh man, you seriously fell for it that easily?
He sighed, catching his breath.
Mamma mia, you're an idiot.
Anyway, yeah, I know where your brother is. I know where everything is, Slick.
I didn't like seeing my brother laugh at me like this. I knew it wasn't him. I knew it wasn't, but it still hurt. Something deep within me broke, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to fix it.
I'm not gonna spoil that surprise for you,
Mario said, his voice distorted and wrong.
But since you're looking at me like I just kicked a puppy, let me give you a little hint. Your brother's here, Slick.
Huh? Really? He's really here? Where? How? Mario waved his finger at me.
That wouldn't be any fun if I just told you. Rest assured, though, he's here, and if you keep looking, you'll find him. Can't wait till you do.
He smirked, and instead of glowing red eyes, they went black as coal.
I've been waiting quite a while to see this all play out.
Gotta say, excited. Is he at Smithy's factory, then? Toadette asked breathlessly. And does Smithy know what happened to my brother? Was he the one who killed? The words died on her lips. Mario was already sleeping on the floor, hand against his head. Cartoon Z's somehow floated out from his head.
Yeah, look, just find Smithy, okay? Trust me, you're in his factory now. He shouldn't be far. If you need directions, there's a stupid computer nearby who's just dying for attention.
Wait, just tell us,
Toadette pleaded. For some odd reason, this Mario began pushing against a wall in a very exaggerated manner. He wasn't actually pushing the wall over or anything, just sort of acting it out.
Nah, don't wanna. Anyway, I've been building up speed for like 12 ghost hours, and I'm like gonna go pop into another PU. And let me tell you, you guys smell worse than it. He laughed. Get it? PU? Like, forget it. I'm out of here. Don't forget, I'll be watching somewhere.
Yeah! What? Woohoo! 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 Woohoo!
His voice kept on repeating the same hoo-hoo, just in a sped-up fashion, and the next thing I knew, the guy's teleporting all around us, moving at what I presumed to be light speed. The last thing I saw were flashes of red and blue as he melded into the walls before finally going straight through them. There was the quietest of hoo-hoos in the distance, but other than that, The ghost was gone. Far away, hopefully. Toadette turned to me, her shoulders stuck in a weird perplexed shrug.
What the heck just happened? What the heck has been happening?
I wish I could have answered that. I could only shrug in return. Were all cities like this? Was the whole world like this? I was right for staying at home all these years and never wanting to go out. The stories I heard from Mario, they were always like this. Who would want to be part of a weird story like that? No one in their right mind, probably. Oh, I realize I just insulted myself and Toadette here.
I guess, well, he said we're in Smithy's factory,
Toadette said, eyes roaming over the rusty old room. This place felt like a basement. A place that Smithy and his troops didn't go into much. It wasn't quite like the rest of town. There were traces of shiny chrome down here, or at least it used to be shiny. Countertops filled with broken glass and beakers lined the place. Strange creatures lay dead on the floor, shaped like X's. They were robots too, but they didn't look anything like Smithy's. They were like something from the far future. Oh, ex-nauts. Okay, I see. Smithy must not have cared for that. He was very old school, wasn't he?
This must be the old ex-naut fortress,
Toadette mused aloud.
The one Smithy took over, which means Smithy must be close. That ghost thing, he talked about a computer that could help us. Maybe we could search for it while we look around?
I nodded. That was a fine plan as any. It wasn't like I was gonna lead us anywhere heroically. It was nice having someone with me. Going through Bowser's castle, in the streets all by myself, it was terrifying. Well, this was too, obviously, but it wasn't as bad. We explored the halls to the best of our ability. Dust, rust, and dirty musk must have covered every inch of this place. The air felt so old, felt lonely, as if it was happy someone was finally breathing it in. What a strange thought. Most of the doors were meant to be automatic, a few even opening up before us just as we got near, but many of them appeared to be powered down or rusted shut, while the others could only open halfway. This fortress must have been quite the marvel in its days. I'd never seen technology like this before. Why wouldn't Smithy use it? Stubbornness? Maybe he just assumed his technology was better? By the forlorn look of things, maybe he was right. Our aimless wandering took us to an old room. A huge screen reflected our pink and green images, even through all the dust. Toadette came upon a curious keyboard, and I could see the way her eyes sparkled. She was an explorer like her brother, wasn't she? Unable to contain that curiosity, she slammed her hand down on the keyboard. Why, though? She looked back at me, smiling sheepishly.
Sorry, I just got a strange urge to do that. Wanted to see if it'd do anything. Looks like it didn't do anything.
Hello? Is someone there? Hello? The words lit up on screen, and lights flickered around it, many of them barely working. Most seemed fizzled out or glitched. The room yawned, attempting to bring itself awake, but failing for the most part. It needed some kind of, computer coffee or something. What was the correct technical term?
Eep!
Toadette squeaked, jumping back.
Is this the computer thing that the ghost told us about?
Hello? Is anyone there? I cannot hear you if you are there. I cannot see if you are there. My senses have malfunctioned. Please respond. Please.
Luigi, go, talk to it,
Toadette said shakily.
Computers aren't exactly my thing.
What? Why me? And they're my thing?
I didn't say they were. Just go use the keyboard or something. Jeez.
Toadette grumbled.
I always do all the talking.
I saw myself give off a worried frown on the reflection of the screen. I guess she was right. I should do something for her. I placed my fingers on the keyboard, recoiling at all the nasty dust. There were worse things than dust here. I just have to get over it. Taking a deep breath, I began typing. Hello, this is Luigi. Are you a computer? Yes, I am known as Tech, the world's most advanced computer. It is nice to meet you, Luigi. Hello, Tech. It's nice to meet you, too. You seem a lot nicer than I thought you would be. What are you doing here? Doesn't anyone use you? It has been a very long time. I was created by my master, Grotus of the ex-nauts. I was created for the sole purpose of running this fortress, and to gather information across the globe and use it to serve him. But at some point my master was forced to flee to the stars. He did not see fit to take me with him. I do not know how long it has been. I have kept myself in sleep mode, hoping, error, incorrect word choice. I have been waiting to be used, or for a system update, or for my usual repairs. However, it seems the new owner has no use for me. Smithy, right? That's your new owner? Has he ever spoken to you? What do you know about him? Very little, I'm afraid. He attempted to use me once when he took the fortress under his possession. That was also when my audio and visual interface did not malfunction. He did not seem impressed by me. I offered my services to him. I told him of my history in running and maintaining a factory, but he said he could do it better. I feel he was mistaken. I am the ultimate computer. Feel? Do you have feelings, Tech? No, I do not. Or, I am not meant to. I should not have them. If I do, that is an error, more likely due to my years of inactivity. I have felt cold. I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do?
Luigi, what are you doing?
Toadette shouted, reading over my shoulder. Well, more like around my waist.
Also, very rude, by the way. We've got things to do.
This is acceptable, Luigi. A talk like this has made that coldness disappear somewhat. However, I cannot help sensing your motive in engaging with me is more than just a simple conversation, is it not? Yes, I'm sorry. It is all right. This is my purpose. I'm looking for my brother, Mario, and my friend, Toadette. She is looking for information on her brother's killer. You wouldn't happen to know anything about any of that, would you? I am afraid not. My ties to the outside world have been cut. I did used to know about a man named Mario. Did you mean Super Mario, the famous detective? Yes, that's my brother. So you know him? I do. There are pages and pages of information about this man. I could tell you anything you would like to know. Where is he? Right now! Where is he right now? Do you know? I apologize. I cannot connect to the base anymore. I cannot connect to anything. There is only dark. I do not know of Mario's recent activities. I could tell you about his deeds in the past. Would that be acceptable? No, sorry. Maybe some other time. Sorry, it was stupid of me to think you would know. You just explained it. It is all right. Do not be sorry. It is my fault for not knowing. I am meant to be the world's ultimate computer, and yet I cannot do anything, it seems. Smithy was correct. I am functionally useless. No, you're not useless at all. I'm the useless one. It was my fault for demanding to go free.
Hey, you two are gonna get stuck into a loop if you keep apologizing to each other.
Toadette groaned, spooking me and causing me to hit my hand against the keyboard. Are you all right, Luigi? Are you still there? You are not gone yet, are you? Sorry, I'm here. My friend is very pushy. Don't give me that look. It's true. We are looking to... The fact that this man typed that out. We are looking to find Smithy, then. Is there anything you could do to help us with that? I still have access to the base's elevators. I believe I could direct you to his main work area, if it is the same as it has been all these years, which I believe it is. I do not know much about Smithy, other than he is very set in his ways. That would be very helpful, yes. Thank you, Tech. You are welcome, Luigi. However, I will not be able to speak to you once you leave the terminal. I won't be able to aid you anymore. Yeah, sorry. I would have to leave. Is that okay? Yes. Okie dokie. Well, I'm going to get... No, it would not be okay. Please do not go. I have had no one to talk to but a strange person who keeps teasing me. I am not meant to have feelings. I know I am malfunctioning. I know I am obsolete, but I don't want to be left alone. It is so dark, Luigi. There is nothing. I'm so sorry, Tech, but I can't stay here forever. I know, but I have an idea. Please do me one favor before you go. Would that be acceptable? Okay. What do you need me to do? Download me. Download my program. You will not be able to fit all of my information, but you will be able to obtain me. There should be a few blank disks around here. If you insert it into my interface, I will do the rest, cut and paste myself into it. You could then take me with you. I don't know. I'm not really that good with computers. I don't think I'd know what to do with you, or that is okay. As long as I am gone, I do not mind. Anything will be better than this. Please, do this for me. I have lit the way to Smithy's workplace and have set the elevator to take you to the correct floor. Please just take me away from here. Okay. I'll try my best. Thank you, Tech. Thank you, Luigi. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Man, you really are the kind of guy to type with all that proper punctuation and stuff, aren't you? Toadette said, narrowing her eyes at me. Are you crying? No, I wasn't crying. I just had a bit of dust in my eyes and was feeling allergic. I fumbled for the old cartridges that Tech had told me about. Sure enough, they were still here. Smithy's gang really did not use this place at all, did they? I placed the old gray cartridge into the slot, blowing out all the dust beforehand. I know this wasn't the correct way to do it, but I was in a rush. The lights on Tech's screen flickered briefly as it worked through its operations. Sorry, I shouldn't tease you like that, Toadette said after a moment of thought. I used to be a bit more of a crybaby, too. Maybe I still am. She sighed. You're a good guy for helping that computer thing, Luigi. I'm not good. I'm really not. I was just too afraid to say no. I was too afraid to picture this computer alone in the dark for the rest of time. I didn't do it for Tech. I did it so I could sleep a little better at night. I did it for myself, but I wouldn't tell her that. Doesn't really change the fact that it's a pretty cool thing to do, you know. Anyway. The computer screen finally went dark, the lights fizzing out into yet another deep slumber. Hopefully it wouldn't be awakened ever again. I gently placed the cartridge in my overalls pocket, just in case this AI could somehow feel it. Back in the hallway, lights flickered to life, or at least what could be considered it. Many didn't work, but the pathway to Smithy was clear. Toadette and I stuffed ourselves into the tube-shaped elevator. A distant pounding could be heard from above. It beat at a steady rhythm. Doors closed, the ground rose, and that clanking noise only grew louder. My own heartbeat was replaced with it. My skull thumped with each strike, growing louder and louder, overpowering my mind. Vibrations skittered across my body, finding every little imperfection. Geez, a little nerve-wracking, huh? Toadette said, twiddling her hands as we grew closer and closer to that noise. Not like Cacletta wasn't scary, but the way we're doing it feels like we're just delivering ourselves to him, you know? I nodded. I got the distinct feeling that I was a piece of scrap metal, just waiting to get hammered down and melted into some kind of shiny new creation. For a moment, it didn't sound so bad, turning into something entirely different. But then I remembered my brother. I remembered having free will is also kind of nice. Doors opened, and hot, arid air slapped our faces. Whatever remained of the ex-naut fortress could barely be seen. Metal plates lined the floors, lined the walls, lined the ceilings, all so incredibly shiny and polished like new. It was nothing like the outskirts of Smithy's town. The metal here was routinely taken care of. Our nervous forms reflected off every surface. And that beat, clang, clang, it was so loud. Tech's lights no longer remained, but they were also no longer necessary. I had never met Smithy, but I knew he was at the end of this hall. I could feel him with every swing of his hammer. This was his world. These were his creations. And now that we stood here in this factory, he owned us, too. We have to go see him, Toadette said shakily, her voice overpowered by the screeching of metal against metal. There's no turning back now, Luigi. I nodded. I didn't even think I could leave if I wanted. Smithy's hammer was calling, and I couldn't ignore it.
As we walked nearer to the beat of metal, nearer to the dry heat, little hammer creatures scurried by. They didn't even notice us. Other armored men walked about in heavy, brightly colored armor, barking orders to anyone they could see. Yet, somehow, they didn't see us. Or maybe they did and they just didn't care. I've been ignored my whole life, and I feel comfortable being ignored, but this was different. It was like we didn't exist here. Conveyor belts churned by, carrying all sorts of weapons and creations. Between the shysters and the little hammermen, I even saw a gray Yaradovik again. Fresh molten steel dripped from his pointed tips. He didn't have any color, and he barely had any life. At least, this one had legs. I worried maybe he'd remember us, but that didn't seem to be the case. He stood still as a statue, waiting for wherever the conveyor belt took him. My foot met a loose gear on the ground, tripping me and misplacing the thing just barely. Every eye turned to me in an instant. The entire factory stopped.
"Watch where you're going, bub, or we'll watch it for you,"
one of the heavily armored managers said.
"Final warning, you understand?"
I nodded. Instantly, the factory bubbled to life again, metal clanking and orders screeching, as if I were never there. The beating of hammers grew ever louder, destroying my ability to even think anymore, destroying my ability to even be anymore. Waves of heat downed us in sweat, making it a struggle just to breathe. Still, we pressed on. I held onto the image of my brother, hoping this would all be worth it. One final hallway opened up. Much less people ran through here. It was big enough to fit a tank, and through it I could see a hulking shadow and the hammer he wielded. Each strike sent out sparks of fire and life across the metal floors. His sledgehammer was bigger than my entire body, and he only needed one arm for it too. We nervously made our way in. I felt like an ant lost on a kitchen floor, waiting to be put out of my misery. Smithy did not notice our approach, hammering away with robotic precision. Robotic was certainly the right word to describe it. I had never seen this man, but he looked to be a robot himself. An enormous square body made entirely of smooth black metal stood before us. The only part of him that appeared to be organic was his long white beard, which tumbled to the ground, covering most of his metallic frame. I couldn't help but picture someone like Santa Claus, or maybe even Zeus. Either way, Smithy did not look like any living being I'd ever seen. This was an otherworldly being. Maybe he really was a god, or maybe he was just a robot? But who created him? Just what was he? Excuse me, Toadette muttered weakly, standing at a safe distance away from Smithy and his anvil. He either ignored her or didn't hear her. Smithy's crown gleamed almost as bright as the star at his chest. I almost missed that. A shiny, crystal-like star was embedded into his body. Another beautiful, otherworldly thing. This did not seem like a creation of Smithy's, though. Merely a tool for him to use. Toadette curled her little hands into fists and took a deep breath.
Excuse me!
She screamed at the top of her lungs, and even standing next to her, I could barely hear over Smithy's hammer. I wish I had even half of Toadette's courage.
Huh?
Smithy groaned, his voice practically thundering out of the skies. His eyes, black as coal, met ours. I couldn't tell if he was angry or not.
Visitors. Finishing your tour of the factory, yes?
No, not exactly.
Toadette tried to say, but Smithy did not listen.
You're just in time.
He grunted and raised his hammer high, its charred black metal pulsing with heavenly power. He slammed it down into a red-hot silvery liquid, steam hissing like 1,000 snakes. In a puff of smoke, a gray shyster bounced, born into existence.
"Hey, how you doing?"
The metal monster greeted casually before hopping off onto the conveyor belt.
Impressive, is it not?
Smithy demanded. It was not a question.
Yeah, that is seriously something, Toadette stuttered, trying to cope with the fact that she just saw a metal blob get beaten into life. But we're, not here for a tour?
Oh,
Smithy grumbled, eyebrows furrowed.
a trade deal, then?
Toadette shook her head, trying to stay strong. She and I both knew he wouldn't like the answer. No, not that, either. We're here for information. We have some questions. Smithy banged his hammer hand against metal, returning to his work.
Questions, information, worthless, a waste of my time. I have no interest in either.
Toadette frowned, her irritation overriding her nervousness. Well, too bad. We're looking for Mario, his brother. She pointed at me, and again I wished I was invisible. Smithy's eyes glanced me up and down like a piece of scrap. He was not impressed. And we're looking for my brother's murderer. I have a strong suspicion it was one of your creations. Smithy shrugged, swinging his hammer ever onward. It was like breathing to him.
Mario, I have heard of no such thing in recent memory. I have no interest in brothers. And as for yours, little girl, if one of my weapons killed him, then I am not at fault.
Huh? How could he not have heard of Mario either? Wasn't my brother here? Or was Smithy just faking it? Toadette looked like a steamed mushroom, wiping angry sweat from her brow. What do you mean you're not at fault? If your creations killed him, then it's absolutely your fault!
Do you blame a sword for stabbing? Do you blame a gun for shooting?
Smithy hammered on.
No. It is the person's fault for falling upon the sword, for allowing the bullet to find them. I take no responsibility for the lives of you creatures.
But, Toadette shouted, they're not just mindless weapons. There's no one using them. They control themselves, and they're controlled by you. How can you say you're not at fault?
I am not. I merely make weapons. That is all.
I could tell Toadette was about to say something insulting, but to argue her point was what appeared to be quite a literal wall. I didn't want to anger this being. In my cowardice, I spoke up, hoping to sway the conversation and tensions away. But what about the crown? It didn't make much sense, and my stupid stutter only embarrassed me further, but at least it did something.
Ah, the crown.
Smithy huffed.
Yes, a small green thing sold me such a crown, claiming it had magical properties. This thing.
He finally stopped hammering for a moment, reaching for the pile of metals nearby. And just like that, he held out in his enormous metal fingers a tiny silver crown with a daisy on it, the blue sapphire shining like a sports star. That was Daisy's crown. I was sure of it.
I was scammed.
Smithy said stonily.
There are no special properties in this thing. It is worse than scrap metal. I will not be doing business with that man again.
He eyed us.
Do you wish for this useless trinket? Wishes do not come true, you know.
Without another thought, he tossed the crown into my hands.
But this is an efficient way to dispose of waste. Take it. I have no use for it.
But what about my brother? Toadette yelled, her hands achingly empty. Someone has to pay for what happened to him. Someone has to. He can't just be dead with no one to blame. It's not fair.
That is how your world works, child. Your people die. Sometimes to each other. Sometimes simply because they are defective products and cannot continue to operate.
Stop acting like you had no part in this! Toadette stamped a foot down on the metal, her clang but a tiny whimper against Smithy's. Just tell me which of your robots did it then, at least. I don't care!
Your entitlement annoys me,
Smithy said, the fires of his forge burning harder.
I know nothing of your brothers. Do you understand? Continue to bother me, and you will regret it.
So you'll kill us too? You admit it then?
You will show me respect!
Smithy howled, steam erupting from his crown like a geyser.
I have done nothing but show it to you.
He slammed his hammer down. The entire world must have shook. Toadette and I could barely keep our footing, let alone a determination. I tried to nudge her with the crown. At least we got something, right?
But
Toadette whimpered, still unable to stop.
the ghost thing. He said Mario was here. He said everything was here.
Another ear-shattering blow against his anvil, and it cracked in two.
I told you, child, I know nothing of your creature's plight. I know of no ghost. Leave me to my work.
He pointed his hammer hand to an exit nearby. I had to stop her before she got us killed. I could see Toadette wasn't satisfied. I wasn't really either, but what choice did we have? Smithy would bargain with us no longer, and a little mushroom girl and a twig like me were not going to beat the information out of a metal god. I pulled her along with me, apologizing the entire way.
Stop it, Luigi! Stop it!
She cried, struggling against me.
It can't just be like this!
It's always been like this. This is just how the world is. Unfair. Mario always wanted to change that too. Mario probably would have never listened to Smithy either. I'm glad they'd never met, or else who knows what could have happened to him. I dragged her away, far enough away, where Smithy could surely not hear us anymore. Here we wouldn't be a bother to him. Over here, it was dark. A minion or two would scamper by, but it wasn't really as busy as the other hallway. At the end, I could see a light. It must have been the exit outside. Toadette pulled free of my grip angrily, strengthened by the shame in her eyes. She wanted to wipe her tears, hide them away. I understood that. I was never sure what to do. I was never sure what I was going to do. Why'd I agree to any of this? My heart was pounding in my chest, and I finally could hear myself over Smithy's distant hammering, but I heard too much of myself. Looking back on it, I can't say I understand. I felt something was wrong. Does that make sense? Is it a premonition? Is it just a stupid body's way of dealing with grief? I felt it like I knew it before I saw it. I felt like I had always known, but at that moment, I saw it with my own eyes. It was a nightmare I had all too often. A nightmare that I knew would become real someday. I never wanted to believe it. I always had hoped it was just anxiety or over-worrying. It's just my cowardly way of dealing with the world, right? My fears and my worries, they were just that, weren't they? No, they weren't. This proved it. Everything shattered. I couldn't feel anything anymore. I saw red in the dark gray of Smithy's hallways. A familiar red. The red that always used to be so comforting to me. A red that told me I was home and that I was okay. It was the same red that also warned me, that also gnawed at the back of my head, telling me, one day it'll be gone. One day it'll be the last thing you ever see of this thing you love, and there's nothing you can do about it. It was Mario, and he wasn't moving. Good day. Future me here. I believe I have just finished with the editing for this part. And I'm going to move on to getting this thing processed, I believe. I used a lot of audio modifications in this one, I think. Like, I played around with Audacity a lot in this one. Hopefully it adds more than it detracts. Yeah. Also, in the time between finishing the last one and, well, finishing this one, a remake for Super Mario RPG has been announced. So, yeah, that's cool. And, yeah. Thank you for watching, listening, and you'll hear me next time. Also, my condolences to Luigi. Ciao.